So I'm now here on the set of my thriller film Whispers of Yesterday. In this location, in this scene, this is the scene where Dan Pitts' character, he appears from this tree. He's leaning right in this position, and Melissa Nee's character is walking past on her phone. And this is when he starts to harass her, and now you know at the point where we are in the scene. So the main question is, why did I choose this location? So the main reason I chose this location is because we've got a lovely backdrop of this lovely path, especially in the autumn time that we're in. There's so many beautiful leaves on the ground, and now this comes up with two reasons. One, it's just a beautiful backdrop, and people might say, "Oh, that is pretty." It's a safe location. So when Melissa is walking past here, and then you see Dan's character, it kind of changes in contrast with this beautiful location with this dangerous being. Second reason I quite like this location is because it depends on the type of person you are. Now, you could look at this location and think it's quite a dangerous location because it is quite isolated, and I quite like that. If Neve was to pan over to this area, you can see there's quite an open space. But if you pan back to where I am and you see the location where we filmed, you can see that actually this part looks quite isolated, and for the people that will be watching the film, they will have no idea that that part exists. They will just be focusing on the part that we are filming in, which is this long stretch path. And I also really like it because it allows for a nice long tracking shot as we follow Neve, and it allows, as we continue to walk, all this space and this pathway for all the action to unfold. Suppose you have the lovely crackles of the leaves underneath your feet, you have all the lovely trees around us, and I feel like it was a really good place to kind of get the feel for this part of the thriller film. Now, this is only a small location, only a small bit of the trailer happens here, and in this blog post I won't be talking about every single place where we filmed, just the key points. And obviously there is another part of this area that I did film in, which will be a part attached to this part. But this is the point I want to talk about first, because this is where it starts. This is where we first see Dan's character, and it's the second appearance of Melissa Neve's character. And why I like this location so much is the fact that it's what I said about the crunchy leaves, the long backdrop. As you can see when I'm walking through it, you can see how beautiful it looks behind me, especially with the sun beaming down. It was a beautiful location to film in, and it also creates that sense of mystery, because as I said, people can't see over there, they can only see this part of the trail. So it does look as if Melissa is quite isolated in between all these trees going back. And I really like that. It kind of creates that vulnerability for her character, and that's all to do with the setting and location. Not only it makes Dan's character look more powerful, the fact that he has the power in this situation, and the fact that he's all alone leaning on that tree just down there, really does point out to the audience that Melissa is in real trouble here. And obviously that leads into where we're about to go next, when Josh Chipperfield's character John comes and sorts it out, which we'll get onto in a minute. But overall, this location not only is beautiful, but it creates a dangerous vibe for Melissa's character and makes Dan's character look much more stronger as the gangster mafia guy that he is. So we are currently on the same area as we were. As Neve pans over, you can see where we just were, and that is where Dan's character attacks Melissa Neve's character during the play. Diablo, Dan's character's name is, as we get onto the character section, but obviously that's where Diablo attacks Melissa. So moving on, we're here at the second part where we filmed. This part comes slightly after there, where John finds out that Melissa is actually being attacked, and obviously he knows, he's always watching, and when Melissa doesn't turn up to his grave, he knows something's wrong. He knows that someone's harassing her on the way back from the cemetery, because that's where this path is. It's on the way back from the graveyard at the church where she visits John's grave every day. So there's a connection there. This is the path she takes every day, and then when this guy starts to appear, she doesn't want to come down here anymore. She's too scared to go and visit her own uncle's grave. And obviously that's how John knows, as he watches her most days, that she's there. So moving on, if you come over here, this is the tree where John appears from. Now, if you just pan over there for me, Neve, you can see this is where he comes from, Diablo comes from down there. You've got a massive bit of field. And obviously, this part of the trailer, Melissa and John have actually planned out the attack. So if you come over here, we will be able to see where Neve stands. She stands right in this location, allowing for Diablo to come from over there and kind of corner her here. And obviously we can see that this is all part of the plan because John stands right behind. So obviously Diablo cannot see John from this location. So when he steps around this way and Diablo's over there, he hasn't really got anywhere to go as such. Well, obviously if we pan over there you can see that there is actually plenty of direction for Diablo to go. However, the audience do not see that, and it kind of looks like he's cornered because they know the field's over there. They don't know Diablo, there's no way for Diablo to go over here. So this leads into the fight scene where Melissa pulls him in and John smacks his head against it, and then we have a lovely shot of Diablo just laying in the leaves, gone. Obviously he's perished. John has again succeeded. And Melissa is just over here and she is in shock that John has this power to just do that. She said she wanted this problem to be sorted out. But where people may think there'd be a massive battle, it's over in a few seconds. John is just too powerful. Now, so there is a battle later, which we'll get into with the garages, where Mash and John have a massive fight. But for now, we're focusing on Diablo's character, who just gets perished. And once again, looking at this location, it's again got the crunchiness of the leaves, which creates more impact when Diablo falls down. And the reason I picked this location for the fight, I could have quite easily had it on the path. Fair enough, and it would have linked in. However, this tree looks more masculine than trees over there. It's a big ash tree. So it complements John in his big stature and his big masculine size. Not only that, but it allows enough room for him to be standing behind it, and it changes up the location from the path. It's a completely different scenario here. There, Melissa is the victim to Diablo, and here, Diablo is the victim to John. So this is the location of Melissa's main scenes. We will now move on to the church scene, where we see quite a lot of in the film Whispers of Yesterday. We just get a nice pan of the whole location. So we have the pit that the audience cannot see. We also have this beautiful piece of field right there. And finally we have the long stretch where Melissa walks every day. And that is all for this part of the film Whispers of Yesterday. So now I'm here at a slightly smaller location in the film where John is here very briefly, in fact. So there's not much to do with this location. And in fact, some people may think this location is a little bit strange for my thriller film, that it may not fit as well as some of the other locations. Now, if you pan to my left, your right, this is the part of the scene where John walks into the mist. Now, also, there's no mist here now. We were very lucky to get that mist when we did. And that symbolises John's kind of mysteriousness. Mist is a very mysterious thing, very clear, very see-through. And it's almost very supernatural and ghost-like. The fact that John is walking into this pile of mist, which relates back to when he's feels that he's comfortable and that Melissa is safe. He is happy to pass on to the afterlife, and he's a Christian. He's happy. He wants to go and see his wife and child, as he thinks are still up there. Now, as we move on closer, you can see the park. Now, we'll go and get a closer look. The park in general is not used very much. In fact, I think it's only used for 2 shots, and it's only one part of the park. The reason I want to use the park is, one, because there's a nice colourful bench there, as you can see right there. We'll get closer there. And you don't actually see that it is a park in the film, in fact. In fact, you only really see that bench. Now, I didn't want to say too much of the park, because I don't want to make John, in a term, look that inappropriate. I want him to be there because he just doesn't care. So if we quickly come over here, we can see that this bench, as we come closer. So this bench is the one we use when filming. The reason I use this bench and not the one over there is because I quite like the backdrop of this of just being a field. So also you don't actually see any of these roads or the park itself, you only see this bench. Reasons behind it, it wasn't really needed. I don't want to make John look inappropriate in a car. However, the fence here in the background makes him look contained, and this symbolises like John's mental health. He feels contained, as such as he doesn't feel like he can do the things that he may want to do. You know, he feels contained in himself, almost like he feels like he should be put in prison because of the things he's done, or that symbolises that he should be put in prison for the things he's done, murdered people. But it also symbolises, obviously, that he misses his family and he does feel contained within himself. Now with like the bench here, more of this part of the thing, it's just so you get the first look of John. The first look of him sitting on his bench lighting off smoke. So in the first coming shots of the trailer, you see John, you see how he's casual, you see him smoking, you see him casually sitting on the bench. And that's really all there is to it. It makes John look casual. The fence has a symbolism of being contained and that he should be in prison for what he does. And that's all there really is to say about this small location, other than the fact that it's filled with the smoke mist. So this is just a different kind of angle, the angle in fact which I used from the film of what the bench looks like. So obviously John will be sitting here. You can see the fence in the background, and you can see the colourful fence. If you just want to come down a little bit, Neve, I get a slightly lower angle. So you can see that it creates this nice contrast with the big open field in the background, which is a nice backdrop and a mysterious backdrop for John, as he's got this kind of vastness and freedom. And once again, we've got the contained fence and the bench, which makes John look like a casual character really, and that's all there really is to it. So here we are in the second part of the garage scene. Now, some people may think that there's two garage scenes. One where John and Mash first clash when they are friends. The second being this location when they have a fight. So as you can see in this location over here, the empty garage, there is a scene, a quick shot when Mash appears from there, in this kind of, when we thought it was very dark. Now if we turn around to the opposite side of here, we have the street light. And that's what I used to create that kind of orangey, dark effect when filming that part of the film. To get right here is obviously where Mash perishes. And just on top of there is where I filmed that slightly bird's eye view shot when Mash gets defeated finally. The reason I use this location is because it's very isolated. There's not many people around, and that kind of led for no one would have like a massive fight where they knew people was going to be around. It's very secretive. Obviously John doesn't want to have a fight with this guy when he knows he could get arrested. So having it in an isolated location made it very concluded, and obviously underneath the street lamp gave us a lovely opportunity to use some creative lighting there, make it nice and warm, kind of like a dangerous colour for when John finally defeats Mash. And over there we also had the open garage, which obviously led a lot of help to making Mash's character much more mysterious than first appeared. And I really like this location because it allowed me to obviously get the bird's eye view shot. There was lots of different locations, obviously with the entrance there, where John walks down at the end. It created some beautiful cinematography where I just managed to get lots of different shots in one location. Now this is obviously a two-part thing because there was obviously another scene where we filmed in the garages as well, which we'll get onto in a minute. So this is the upper part of the garages which I was talking about. It is actually, if you just quickly pan around, you can see that this is a completely different location to the one I used before. Now, the funny thing about this location is that it was a marvellous location to use because it is very isolated. But at the same time, you don't see much of it. Now, if you come over here, this is where we filmed the scene. And literally, all you see a glimpse of over there when I pan round and show you the knuckle dusters. But other than that, it's just focused on this part of the wall. And I quite like that because that shows how this part is all about the isolation. Mash is not going to give knuckle dusters to someone in plain public. It's going to be in a more slightly different and isolated location. And I also quite like the blue garage doors. I think that quite nicely with Josh's costume at the time when he wears that dark hoodie. And I also feel that it's just a nice little location for this kind of, you could say, bad business to go on. And obviously it's quite nice to have this being the friendship garages and there being a difference to where they fight. I feel that creates where they're a friendship and there's a contrast to where they're actually, Mash betrays John and they have a fight. And that's all there is to say about the short garage scene where the garage is filmed. So this is one of the most important locations in my thriller film trailer. This is actually the church where John is buried. Now if you look over there, just along this line, this is one of the gravestones that is John's, that the niece comes to visit. And this is obviously the front doors on the overarching arch of the church. If you just pan up there, you can see that this is quite an old-fashioned church here in Great Yeldham, one where I grew up. So I was quite eager to use this location as it really does fit into the storyline, and obviously John faking his death. This is his hometown where he lives, and though I had to change up the locations, obviously, because on the way home I said that the recreation ground when I filmed the trees was the way home from the church. But obviously it's not, but for the purposes of this this thriller film, it is. Now, if we just wander over here, despite how insignificant this location is and how important it is, I didn't use too much of it. Just around this corner is where John likes to watch. So we just see here, there's like an arch here and there's a dip just there. And this is where John likes to watch the niece from. So if you come here and you stand in the location I am, if you look over to the gravestones, you can see that it looks like John is kind of spying on Melissa, who is coming to visit him. And it's just a location where he likes to look at her from. If he's careful enough, he can see without being spotted. And obviously he comes here every day to watch his niece visit his grave, and when she stops coming, that's how he knows that something's up. And obviously this is all his life is now. His wife and child have died, he's faked his own death, he's in trouble with the police and gangsters, he's a private investigator, his life has gone to ruin. But when his family's endangered, he's already lost 2 of his family, he ain't going to lose another, especially considering she's in foster care. And the church is just a very nice location in general, despite, as I said, despite how significant the location is. I didn't actually use it that much compared to what I thought I would. It just didn't feel like I needed to. It's a lovely location which should be sacred and respected for the people that are actually buried here. But I did ask for permission, and I was allowed to film here in certain times of the day, despite there not being any services going on or anyone visiting. And luckily it's been a nice day to come up and film. So obviously that's all for this location part. We got a nice panning shot around here of the church itself in the film, and we're getting one now. You can see that it's a beautiful church with lovely tinted windows. We also got a shot here of when John shushes to the camera, which is taken just up there, but that wasn't really significant because you didn't really see the background. It was pitch black at that time. So that's all for this part of the section of the video. This was the church location which I filmed in, and then despite me not having that much to do here, it was a very significant part of the plot line.